Morning, everyone. Welcome to Find the Intersection. My name is Paul Dezay. Today, we're going to be talking about two passages. We're going to be talking about yesterday's passage, which was Luke 20:27-38. Sadducees have a question about marriage in the afterlife, right? So, and then the second passage is this morning's reading from 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1-5 and 13-17. So we have two amazing passages. So let's jump in. Yesterday's passage from Luke 20:27-38 is about the Sadducees asking Jesus a question about the resurrection and what will happen if a woman has been passed down and married to many different people. Who will she be married to in the resurrection or in heaven, right? So that's the question. Let's kind of back it up a little bit. The Sadducees who are asking the question, they don't believe in the resurrection. They believe that the end is the end, right? When you die, you're done. So they don't believe in an afterlife. So they believe that justice, God's justice, is acted out in the present day, right? So whatever happens, either God's serving justice or is withholding justice. So there is no afterlife justice. There is no redemption in the future in the eyes of the Sadducees. So they asked Jesus a ridiculous question. The point of the question isn't the marriage in heaven. The point of the question is to trick Jesus in talking about denying the resurrection. So that's the point, all right? So let's jump in. There are a few things that stood out to me. Jesus supports the resurrection. At the very end, he says that God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He is, present tense. He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and still is. In other words, God is still alive, and Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are still alive. So Jesus, in that statement at the burning bush, when he talked to Moses, he is confirming that there is a resurrection, there is a future, there is a afterlife, right? That's the primary purpose. Now, the secondary thing that Jesus talks about, and in that world, women were property. And so this story of a man dying and the woman being passed down to the next brother is this world of women being treated as property. So Jesus talks about justice. In the future, women will, in the resurrection, in the afterlife, women won't be treated as property. They won't be passed down from person to person because that's not God's intention. For women to be treated as property, right? Not in marriage or not in society. Women are created in the image of God, and I'm a real big supporter of women in ministry. I don't like John MacArthur's comments to Beth Moore, go home. That's not the dialogue we see Jesus treating women with respect here. And so there's this aspect of justice at the heart of Jesus's message. Now, the question always comes up to me is, will there be marriage in heaven? Jesus kind of says there isn't. He kind of references that they won't be given in marriage. There won't be marriage ceremonies in heaven. I don't know. I don't know how that works and plays out. I don't think that's the point of this passage at all. I think this is all about resurrection, and this is about justice for women, right? Now, the second passage, today's passage, is a tricky one. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 1-5 and 13-17. This continues our dialogue from last week's passage in chapter 1, in which Paul is telling the church to endure in hope, to have a persevering hope. And so today he talks about the lawless one, right? The lawless one. John Wesley, in his commentary in this passage, talked about the lawless one being Satan. The lawless one is attacking the church, and things are looking bleak, and things may get worse because the lawless one is attacking. Then the next thing that that Paul's talking about here is the day of the Lord. Some people were teaching that the day of the Lord has already come. Paul's saying the day of the Lord is in the future. Judgment day is in the future. This lawless one must enact his attack against the church. And it's interesting, the phrase lawless means without law, right? So law is the boundaries that exhibit life, right? So we have boundaries. The law was given as boundaries for the people. And so the lawless one is the one who has knocked down those boundaries, who lives without boundaries, and is attacking the church, trying to persuade them, because that's Paul's concern, hold to the teaching, to persuade them not to have boundaries, right? So we have this lawless one, we have the day of the Lord, Judgment Day, and I think often, Judgment Day is a day in the future, but what if today was Judgment Day? And how would I live knowing that today was Judgment Day? Would I be living for the Lord, expressing my heart towards the things of God and the kingdom of God, or would I run away in fear and cowardice to the day of the Lord? So the day of the Lord is to a certain degree a day in the future, but every day in a way is a reminder that we are aligned to the King, and so we are being judged by the King in the way that we live our lives. And the third thing is this last part of Second Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 13 to 17. It talks about that God gives grace for us to save us, and so therefore we should stand firm in the Lord. In other words, God's on our side. This battle with the lawless one, God's going to protect us. So stand firm, be courageous, live this Christian life, live in allegiance to the King outward, and God will be with us by his grace through and through, sanctifying us, right? So that's what I got out of yesterday's passage and today's passage. What did you get? If you would share in the comments, I want to learn from you. I hope you're having a good morning so far on this Tuesday morning. And I'll be back tomorrow. We're going to be in Haggai, right? Haggai. And then on Thursday, Psalm 145. So take care, everyone. Grace and peace. Have a good one.